Imagine walking the quiet streets of Sydney's suburbs, where elderly women shuffled home with groceries or sat peacefully in sun-drenched parks, never imagining the terror stalking them in plain sight. But behind the warm smiles of a local pie salesman, there lurked a presence darker than anyone could comprehend. His name was John Wayne Glover, a man who, for years, walked among neighbors and friends, hiding in broad daylight. Yet under the surface, he was hunting, watching, waiting. And when the moment was right, he struck. What makes his story even more chilling is not just what he did, but how long he got away with it. A string of unspeakable acts hidden beneath the guise of normalcy, as entire neighborhoods unknowingly harbored a sinister force. But how did it begin? And what terrifying secrets would unfold as the truth crept to light? Stay with me, because this story only gets darker. John Wayne Glover, an ordinary name, an ordinary face. If you passed him on the street in the late 1980s, you would never look twice. A middle-aged man, friendly, always with a polite nod, delivering meat pies to nursing homes and hospitals around Sydney's North Shore. But behind that facade was a storm of rage and darkness that no one could see coming. Born in England in 1932, Glover moved to Australia in 1956, seeking a fresh start. But whispers followed him, a long list of accusations. Women felt something wasn't right when he was near. Yet, each time, nothing ever stuck. For decades, he kept his mask on, until something inside him snapped. It started subtly, like a shadow in the corner of your eye that you can't quite catch. Strange incidents in nursing homes, elderly women found dazed, unable to speak clearly about what had happened. But soon, these subtle acts would escalate into something far more terrifying. On June 6, 1989, 77-year-old Marjorie Mosley lay in her bed at Wesley Gardens retirement home in Belrose when she felt a hand slip under her nightgown. She couldn't remember the face, but the touch lingered in her mind like a nightmare she couldn't escape. She told hospital staff and police, but there were no answers. No suspect. No explanation. Weeks later, on June 24th, Glover walked into the Caroline Chisholm nursing home. What happened next would make your skin crawl, lifting the dress of one elderly woman, fondling her as she lay helpless, then moving to another room to violate yet another woman. When staff confronted him, Glover simply smiled, brushed it off, and left. No one suspected what he was capable of. After all, who would suspect the Pie Man? As the months dragged on, more incidents followed. August 8th, 1989, October 6th, and October 18th. Silent attacks on the most vulnerable, always slipping away before anyone realized what had happened. But soon, it would no longer be enough for Glover to simply terrify. He wanted more, something unspeakable. And Sydney was about to wake up to a nightmare. On November 2nd, 1989, Glover approached Dorothy Benke, 78, offering to help carry her groceries. A kind offer, or so it seemed. She invited him in for tea. He politely declined. But as he walked back, he saw another woman, Margaret Pahud, 85, quietly making her way home. What happened next is something out of a horror movie. A blunt object, a sudden strike to the back of her head. Margaret collapsed, but Glover wasn't done. He struck her again, harder. Then, disturbingly, he rearranged her clothing, as though staging the scene, and vanished into the night. Her lifeless body was found by a schoolgirl, who at first thought she was just seeing a pile of clothes. And just like that, the granny killer was born. But at this point, no one knew it yet. Only 24 hours later, Glover struck again. Olive Cleveland, 81, was just sitting outside her retirement home when a friendly man approached her for a chat. But when she tried to leave, she never made it back. He dragged her into a side lane, and what happened there was so brutal, authorities initially thought she had fallen. But when similar scenes began appearing, November 23rd, Muriel Falconer, a 93-year-old widow, attacked on her own doorstep, left in her home with haunting evidence of a struggle. The truth could no longer be ignored. The attacker wasn't a random predator. He was someone who knew how to move through these neighborhoods unnoticed. Someone who blended in, who smiled at strangers. And he wasn't done yet. By January 1990, police were desperate. Then, a breakthrough. Glover entered Greenwich Hospital on his usual pie delivery round. There, he found Daisy Roberts, an 82-year-old cancer patient. What he did next chills to the bone, lifting her nightgown, touching her as she lay helpless. But this time, she screamed. A nurse caught him in the act. Glover fled, but not before the nurse took down his license plate. Suddenly, for the first time, police had a name. But they had no idea how deep this nightmare went. When they reached out to question him, Glover never showed up. Instead, he attempted to take his own life, leaving a cryptic note. No more grannies. Grannies. Essie started it. And yet, even after all this, no one connected him to the other horrors. Not yet. March 19th, 1990. Joan Sinclair, a 60-year-old friend of Glover, led him into her home for what she thought was a simple visit. Police, now tailing Glover, watched him enter. But hours passed, and an eerie silence fell over the house. By 6 p.m., concerned for what might be happening inside, police broke in. What they found was beyond disturbing. Joan lay in a pool of blood, head wrapped in towels to stop the bleeding. But it was far too late. The scene was cold, staged, and deliberate. And Glover? He was in the bathtub, barely alive after trying to end his life with pills and alcohol. But now, there would be no escape. In court, Glover claimed diminished responsibility, blaming deep-seated hatred for his mother and in-laws. But prosecutors pointed to his cold calculation. Cleaning his hammer with acid, staging each scene, stealing from his victims. The judge had no doubts. Glover was never to be released. But the story doesn't end there. Before he died in 2005, Glover handed over a sketch to his final visitor, a simple drawing of 2 pine trees, hidden between the leaves. The number 9. 9? Authorities only tied him to 6 known victims. Does this mean there are others, forgotten and unsolved? Women whose names we will never know? And with Glover now gone, their stories may remain lost to time, whispered in shadows, never fully told. So now, when you walk through quiet suburban streets and pass a friendly stranger offering a smile, remember this story. Evil doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes, it looks just like everyone else. And as for that mysterious number 9, could there still be untold secrets lurking in Glover's past? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. If you found this story chilling, subscribe for more true horror stories like this one. And always remember, the scariest monsters are often those who hide in plain sight.